Hey guys, welcome into another Rath Learning Curve. This time on college fantasy football. We're going to do another top 5 offenses. This time we're going to cover mid-majors or smaller schools, mostly from the MAC conference and the Conference USA. Both conferences have a lot of offense, not a lot of defense, so it makes for exciting play. The one thing is, though, is these teams are not always available on all the game sets and all the sites. So definitely something that we're going to keep a track of once the salaries come out for week 1 and let you know where you can use some of these plays. If the team's ranked in the top 25, usually they'll be in play everywhere. A lot of times these teams play either a Tuesday night, Thursday night, that type of thing. So just something to be aware of, that these are some non-traditional players that you're going to want to look at. And let's get to it. First team that we're going to talk about is Bowling Green out of the MAC. And their quarterback this year is Matt Johnson. Now, he was injured most of 2014, so he's a guy you definitely want to look at. He could be undervalued in a lot of places if the algorithm doesn't factor in what he did in 2013. So definitely keep an eye on Matt Johnson, quarterback from Bowling Green. Their running back situation is not as attractive, mainly because it's a timeshare. Travis Green and Fred Coppett are both good running backs, but they do split time. So that's something you want to be aware of. Now, the guy to look for is wide receiver Roger Lewis, who is a first-team MAC true freshman last year, was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, got into some trouble, ended up at Bowling Green. So he's the guy you definitely want to look at for this team. The other 2 wide receivers are Ronnie Moore and Ryan Burbrink. Both those guys got about 20% of the passing yards last year. The key with Bowling Green is 5 returning starters on the offensive line. So that running game could be productive. Just be aware that they do split time there. The other team I want to talk about out of the MAC is Western Michigan. Their quarterback is Zach Terrell. The big guy here is Javarian Franklin, and he had almost 70% of the total rushing yards for Western Michigan last year, which is a gigantic number. He was player of the year as a true freshman. He had 1,600 rushing yards, 24 touchdowns, an absolute beast, and arguably a top 5 college fantasy football running back. So definitely a guy that you want to look at if he's available. Another guy they have is at wide receiver, Corey Davis, represented 40% of the receiving yards last year, 1,400 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns. You also have Daniel Braverman and Kendrick Roberts. But the 2 guys here are Franklin and Davis. They're absolute studs when it comes to college fantasy football. Moving over to Conference USA, Western Kentucky, one of the best offenses in the country, regardless of where they play. And they've got one of the best quarterbacks, and it's Brandon Doughty, who's coming back as a 6-year senior. 4,800 passing yards last year, absolutely tremendous, 40 touchdowns plus. Leon Allen, senior running back, represented 74% of the total rushing yards for Western Kentucky last year, an absolute beast. And they've got a stud wide receiver by the name of Jared Dangerfield, who is 6'3", 200, and he's a senior. The only downside to Western Kentucky is this team is a lot like Washington State in that they spread the ball around a lot. So Dangerfield only had 17% of the receiving yards last year. Taywan Taylor had 16%. Antoine Grant had 11%. They also have a tight end by the name of Tyler Higbee that you want to take into consideration as well. 3 offensive linemen coming back, so that's good. That's kind of what we look for. But again, really the play is the quarterback and the running back as they do divvy it up at the wide receiver position. The other team in the Conference USA is Marshall. Now, Marshall's quarterback, Rakeem Cato, has been one of the best college fantasy quarterbacks over the last 3 years. He has graduated. And the guy to inherit the starting role is going to be quarterback Michael Birdsong, 6'5", 240, junior. So he's a guy that is definitely going to be a sleeper. It could come in at a very low salary early on, so you definitely want to take that into consideration. Devin Marshall, the running back, got 46% of the rushing yards for Marshall last year, 1,800 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6'1", 243, an absolute battering ram and a beast. So they're going to feed him the ball maybe even more this year. They've got some big wide receivers. They've got a converted tight end. Deontay McMahon is 6'2", 230. Devontae Allen is 6'2", 200. And Angelo Johns-Lewis is the 3rd wide receiver. Now, here's the thing. Tommy Schuler represented almost 30% of the receiving yards last year. He's gone. So Allen and McManus are going to be the guys to get a huge increase in workload this year. And I think you're going to want to use them early on as their prices could be very affordable until the salaries catch up to the production. The last team I'm going to talk about is Louisiana Tech out of the Conference USA. Jeff Driscoll, who's a top-ranked, highly rated prospect from Florida, has transferred over to LA Tech. What I like about LA Tech is Jeff Brom is the head coach there. He's had a lot of experience coaching at a lot of different places, used to quarterback at Louisville. And since he's gotten there, their offense has really gotten on track. Our running back there is Kenneth Dixon. He had 62% of the rushing yards last year for Louisiana Tech, 1,400 yards, 22 touchdowns. Two wide receivers you want to take a look at there, Trent Taylor and Carlos Henderson. 3 offensive linemen coming back for LA Tech. That's going to wrap it up for the top 5 mid-major offenses in college fantasy football for 2015. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.